When given a platform, you are responsible for what you do with that space. So as Black educators and leaders within North Grand Early College Career School, I, Mindy Chappell,
And I, Nicole Luke,
choose to move the experiences of Black youth from the margins to the center of conversation regarding cultivating an equitable learning space.
We realize that focusing on the experiences of African American males promotes a targeted universalism that grounds instructional practices in the joy, criticality, identity, skill, and intellect of most marginalized students. Analysis of data from an Equal Opportunity School survey revealed that African American males only made up 6% of students in our AP courses, despite meeting GPA requirements. Because entry into these courses was heavily reliant on teacher recommendations, we realized that not only did we have to change our selection process, we needed to shift the way teachers see and position African American males in their intellectual capacity. This led us to use the historically responsive literacy framework as a historically and culturally responsive teaching model.
In conversation with African American male students, we found out that relationships, both peer and adult, make learning joyful and create a sense of belonging within a school. And so we set out to create such a space. We set out to explore how might we leverage the genius of Black male students to create an environment that is more supportive of their culture and promotes a sense of belonging that shifts their level of engagement in AP and dual credit, investment in the school, and progress towards liberatory education.
We challenged ourselves to reimagine equitable learning spaces for Black male students and use collective power as school leaders to actively redress the issues by implementing a school-wide plan to foster culturally and historically responsive teaching and learning rooted in continuous reflection and shared collaboration.
So success for us would look like a school-wide shared vision of the historically responsive literary framework, as well as feedback opportunities for students, teachers, families, and communities by June 2nd, school-wide implementation of the HRL units and lessons by October 2022. But the ultimate measure of success would be seeing Black male students engage in co-teaching with teachers using the HRL framework by June 2nd of 2023.
We began this work with the student in mind, listening to their concerns and deciding to act. We asked questions, conducted research, collected data, and sought support. We made the HRL units and templates and the year-long focus within one of our subcommittees in our ILT. We piloted small-scale implementation with incremental progress towards school-wide implementation, which led us to comprehensive templates.
These funds would help us in this endeavor in the following ways. We could purchase copies of the book Cultivating Genius for our entire staff. We can host a visit with the author, Dr. Gholdy Muhammad. We can compensate teachers for planning overtime to develop their HRL lessons, as well as compensate 15 students in the co-planning teaching efforts and provide resources for curricular material and lesson manipulatives.
We learned throughout this process that student voice matters and must be the driving force behind school reform and shifts toward equity. But more importantly, marginalized students, specifically African American males, have to be an integral part of the research, development, implementation, and evaluation plan if we really want authentic change rooted in their brilliance, culture, and experiences.
So we imagine a teaching and learning space where students, especially Black males, are engaged in curriculum and instruction that dismantles oppressive and exclusionary ways of knowing and being as the standard to measure oneself. We want to cultivate a learning space where youth of color, especially Black males, feel a sense of belonging that promotes their development of liberating and empowering narratives, counter narratives, and reseeing. So we thank you for this opportunity to move towards that endeavor.
We thank you so much.
Thank you so much, North Grand team. Wow, that was really powerful to hear your last slide too. We're going to give about 4 minutes now for our celebrity judges, Mary Beck, Dr. Sanders, and Chola Gupta, to share some feedback and ask some questions.
I can go first. North Grand team, that was such a powerful presentation. Thank you for sharing that. Just curious to understand how you arrived at choosing the research framework that you did, and which other frameworks you may have considered.
So at the time we had a conversation, I am a high school teacher as well as the advisor for the Black History Coalition. And so a student kind of shared a Black male student kind of shared his experience on the social media platform. And so trying to create a space where his voice can be heard, but also engage in the work. I invited him to engage in conversation with me, but I was also a full-time doc student at the time. So I was already in classes reading literature. And so I was learning about like Emden and co-teaching and co-generative dialogue. I was also learning about the historically responsive literary framework from Dr. Gholdy Muhammad herself. And so as a practitioner, I wanted to engage in educational research that was rooted in practitioner learning to kind of help guide. So it was kind of like happening in the process.
Thank you.
I'd just like to just share a piece of feedback. I appreciate how your presentation was very focused in one clear direction, and all of the pieces, all of the additions that you shared were all aligned to that focus. I appreciated that today.
Thank you.
I want to echo what my fellow judges said. And Dr. Chappell, I had a question specifically about the subject area. So do you have other teachers that you're engaging in this work, or is this primarily in your subject? And are you the one kind of driving this first in your subject?
So at this point, it's a school-wide initiative. So it started with me as a teacher. I always feel like those who came before us should have learned some things along the way to help make the steps of those coming after us a little lighter, and do what you have with what's in the locus of your control. So in listening to this student, I shifted my practice in my science classroom, but then I was the grade level lead for our sophomore team. And so then I pulled the initiative to our whole entire grade level. So that's across content. And then as the instructional lead this school year, it became a school-wide initiative to shift our teaching and practices. So it's across all grade levels now, as well as across all content areas.
So then I heard you say the timeline by October 2022, you plan to have basically like the HRLF in, is it all content areas, or how like, I just want to better understand the implementation piece within the classroom.
Yes, so this year we worked on developing the units and the templates and getting feedback from all grade levels and all stakeholders. And so by October of 2022, we should see implementation in all courses across all grade levels using the HRL units and templates that we specifically designed for North Grand, because they're also aligned to our mission and vision and progress towards equity, as well as our target instructional area. So we adapted Dr. Muhammad's model, but specifically created lesson templates and unit plans for North Grand.
And I'd like to add in as well, Dr. Chappell has been leading our ILT of department chairs in this work, and department chairs have been disseminating the work to individual departments within the school. So our scheduling PLC calendar has led our departments and teams through a cycle of engaging in this work that Dr. Chappell is leading with our ILT.
Wonderful, thank you so much.